let's ask none other than Grant Afseth, who we've got in studio. Does he feel as confident as Kyrie Irving about this Dallas Mavericks team going into next year, especially with what's about to happen in a couple days?
Real quick, pimp your website and your Twitter, socials, and all that real quick. We'll do that again, but for the folks that have probably been sitting there during the last segment and saying, boy, we sure would love to hear what he writes for, in case, some people are like me and don't remember things.
Yeah, you can check out all my articles on DallasHoopsJournal.com, and I have a crazy name, so you can find me on pretty much any platform. Grant Afseth, mostly active on Twitter. Sure.
What is the origin of Afseth, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm pretty sure it's Norwegian. Yeah.
Okay.
Norwegian.
You give off Norwegian vibes, so that makes sense.
Norwegian, I like that.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to call you GA because,
GA, that's nice. First I call you GA?
I'm sure, because I kept calling you, because I might be dyslexic, and I kept saying Afseth.
I get spam calls all the time that call me crazy stuff. Someone called me Affleck one time. I don't even know how that was possible.
Okay,
Yeah,
see, now we're talking. All right, you've talked a little bit about the players and what those relationships are like, and kind of the day-to-day grind of doing that. But then you got the coaching staff as well, right? And so, in some cases, these are guys that either are former players themselves or have been around this thing for a lot longer than some of these players, so they understand what your job is. And a guy like a Jason Kidd, who I really appreciate, because look, Jason was a cerebral player. He's been a coach for a while, so he's not new to how this thing works. What's that relationship been like, and kind of, the day-to-day of talking to coaches in addition to the players as well?
Yeah, I would say I really appreciate the patience that Jason Kidd has, because I remember, I'm sure it was very annoying, especially not just this year, but the year where they ended up tanking the last few games.
Right.
Where I'm asking about
air quote tanking.
Yeah, for sure. I was asking about all these lineups and all that stuff. He's just he's probably
what do you want from me?
Come on, GA.
What do you want me to say, Grant Affleck? I mean, come on.
I remember this crazy stretch, that road trip when they went on the East Coast trip. I think it was 5 games or something. And then, you start hearing a little bit about, they might start tanking in Indiana. And then they're in Charlotte. They dropped that game as well. And then it's you're still asking me about lineups. Okay, whatever.
How surprised were you, or how much have you been following? I mean, I know you're following it, but how much smoke is there to this Jason Kidd to the Knicks, even though the Mavs have said no?
Well, I think my personal opinion, that's not based off of serious information or anything. I just get a read that a lot of the coaching staff didn't have deals heading into the summer, and I'm sure he would like to get an extension, maybe get compensated more as well.
Where is his contract at right now, for the people at home wondering? Where is Jason Kidd's contract at?
I think he's got 2 more years. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, I thought because he got extended last year to the finals, though, right?
Yeah.
Right before the finals. The finals.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a little extra never hurts.
No, definitely.
It's all about security, right? I mean, these coaches are no different than players. And those are guaranteed. Well, of course, the NBA is guaranteed anyway, but the guaranteed contracts don't hurt. Because you want to let me go? Okay, I'll take my $20 million and walk.
Yeah, New York, $30 million. Tom Thibodeau to not coach. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, you got to solidify it long term as long as you can.
Where does this Mavericks coaching staff kind of unbiasedly just kind of rank right now? Because it seems like every assistant coach is getting poached from the Mavericks. I'd love for you to talk on that. Jason Kidd trying to get poached by multiple teams. I think a lot of people before the Mavericks went on this finals run didn't think or didn't know too highly of this coaching staff. Okay, they're cool. I know who Jason Kidd was as a player. Dudley, Sham God, Sweeney. But now that they've made a finals run, they're seeing every team try to poach their coaches. Where should this coaching staff be viewed in the pantheon of all the coaches, or all the staffs, in the league?
Yeah, I think for the most part, just starting with Sean Sweeney, because he departed, he's someone that a lot of people talk very highly of, people that used to play for him. They're very eager to talk positively. He's great at building relationships. It says a lot when, Luka Doncic wants to recruit you to help him on the national team with Slovenia, and he did that, especially with such a short turnaround. With the Olympic qualifier, I think it was 15 days after that final game in Boston that Luka was joining Slovenia and soon competing. So he needed someone he really respected, in that role, and he valued him. A lot of young players, especially bigs, really appreciate what Lively, what Sean Sweeney does, with development and things of that nature. So I think there's a a lot of respect for him around the league, and there are people that are kind of scratching their head a little bit about him leaving as well. Like, how did the Mavericks allow that to happen? Is kind of the tone.
So how does that work? If for those who don't know, Coach Sweeney leaving for San Antonio. How does that work with assistant coaches leaving and why they want to leave? And we're hearing reports that maybe Dudley and Shamgod are getting offers as well. Why are they getting other interests? How does that work with them leaving for all of the frustrated Mavs fans that are losing their assistant coaches?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, Sean's contract was going to expire, coming up. And, when it kind of gets close to that time and you have other interests, you got to make a move, especially because I think he's making more in San Antonio as well.
That's a big part.
That is a big part. But, I think him taking on, he already had a lot of responsibility, but I think taking on like a super important role with a, younger head coach in San Antonio, I think that allows for even greater impact as well, because he's someone that's motivated to, be a head coach. He was a finalist for the Detroit Pistons job, last summer, made it to the second round of the Phoenix Suns coaching search as well. So just a lot of things I think, to take into account for each assistant coaching, outlook as well. Like Jared Dudley, for example, he has a contract for this season. Like he's signed for this season, but I think would like to be a top assistant, like one of the top two, like, cause there's people who are in charge of both offense and defense, have a lot of responsibility, which was, Sean Sweeney's role.
We went to practice. Sweeney's darn near running the practice.
It's impossible to get him at a shoot-around because he does everything. He's
Jason Kidd is overlording, but Sweeney's the one blowing the whistle, run this set, doing that. I don't know if people realize that, because in football, we see assistant coaches, and they're very visible, and we know who the OCs and DCs are. In basketball, it's very easy, even for your favorite team, not to know who the assistant coaches are.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's someone that works 25 out of the 24 hours in a day, 8 days out of the 7 days a week. And, for Jared Dudley, he's someone that, he puts in a lot of work as well. He's someone that when you're around the team, he's really, watching a lot of film of players pregame. And, I know that's a lot of like stuff, most coaches do, but, his relationship both with, Jason Kidd as well as Anthony Davis from before his time with the Mavericks, I think is something that, shouldn't be overlooked as well as value. And just with a lot of changes too, you don't want to lose a lot of assistants. You want continuity as well. So it's kind of interesting because the Mavs are kind of looking for the role that he's looking for as well. And, I think there's been a little bit of smoke about Frank Vogel potentially being, option to look at. I think he's more interested in head coaching roles. But the Memphis Grizzlies, Cleveland Cavaliers, those are two teams that have interest. Kenny Atkinson was a head coach that had Jared Dudley as a player in Brooklyn, so I'm sure he's got a lot of respect for him there. And Memphis is also looking for somebody that that can relate to players as well too, like Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson. Has someone that has done it on that level as well.
With Shamgod and his interest, with Sweeney already gone, with Dudley, you said he's under contract, but he wants that longer term. Is this going to affect? How will this affect the Dallas Mavericks kind of into this next year? Was there any players that had direct relationships with them that you could see having a longer term effect, or we look back and like, well, they let that assistant coach go. Now we see why this player either wants out or isn't as happy or whatever it may be that people don't know behind the scenes.
I'm not sure if it's to that extent. I think you more so would just see it in, maybe like the impact on the floor, like not necessarily like now I can't be here anymore. Like I think, for example, Kyrie Irving's really close with Shamgod. I don't think that would impact him wanting to stay with the team, because I think it's been known for a little while that his contract's going to be up, and that's when that interest starts to come in. The word travels, and Orlando's interested in him, and that I don't think it would necessarily impact. Especially that comment we just got yesterday of how positive the outlook is.
So real quick though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So. All right. So, and look, I get it. When you have success, that's what happens. Teams pilfer your people. What didn't we lose Darryl Armstrong too? I get it. That wasn't a basketball related incident, but we kind of glossed over that. But if anybody was happy Luka got traded, it was probably him. But you've now lost two, and you got two other guys that might be on the way out. You got Jason Kidd flirting. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, look,
Kyrie's coaching.
I'm as excited about. I mean, you and I were texting. We're all excited that Cooper's going to be here on Wednesday, right? I'm a huge proponent, and I've said this on the airwaves. And trust me, I've had plenty of people tell me to go F myself because I've said, look, I get it. I'm sad Luka left too, but you're about to get the Great White Hope in Cooper Flag. All right. That said, I mean, it just may look like a YMCA coaching staff here if something doesn't get done soon. Like, where are we at on the concern level? Yeah.
Yeah, they did, or they're in the process of bringing in Jay Triano. He's an very experienced assistant. He was a former head coach at a couple stops, like the Phoenix Suns, I believe, with Steve Nash. And he also, with the Canadian national team with Steve Nash, but, the Phoenix Suns in the past. That was way before I covered.
Right.
So.
I was going to say, hell, I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jared Dudley was on the roster at that time as well, too. So.
Okay,
Jared Dudley was on the roster.
I was going to say, Amari Stoudemire was playing. Sean Marion was on that team. Absolutely.
So, yeah, he's someone that people have a lot of respect for, his offensive mind, and he'll replace Alex Jensen. That's another person that departed.
Yep.
He got a job with the University of Utah.
That was like right after the Luka trade, right?
Yeah. Because basically, to our point that we were talking about with contract uncertainty, there was a sense of that throughout the season where it's like, okay, we don't really know some of our future.
So instead of betting and waiting, I'm just going to move on to a guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
Bird in hand, man. Bird in hand.
And now, just to summarize everything, other than Jason Kidd, pretty much everyone on the staff, it doesn't have a long-term contract.
It's TBD.
It's the Cowboys all over again. We got 1-year deals.
Well, the craziest thing from covering that last season, or one of them, was seeing like Luka and Marko Milic every day.
Mm-hmm.
Marko was one of the assistants. He was there, to compliment Luka.
Yep.
One of the
right hand man.
I think he was the first Slovenian NBA player, or drafted in the NBA or whatever it was. And seeing them every day, and then all of a sudden the trade happens, you get to Cleveland, and then he's just not there anymore again.
First day.
Like, I was like kind of surprised how long it took them to remove him from the website as well, because I was like, he's just gone.
He's gone. He hasn't been to practice in weeks.
Yeah. Like, where's Marco? Like, it was kind of crazy.
So all things considered, and we're going to talk about the draft. We'll talk about it here in a second. The coaching staff, you feel good about moving into next year? You feel like they're going to fill it out and they'll be fine? No players are going to be. Cooper Flag still wants to come, or someone just texting him right now with all the dysfunction and unsure coaching staff is Flag, considering going back to Duke. Like, was
that a serious question?
That's what someone texted.
Come on,
just reading the text line.
What are we doing, folks?
All that, I know it was important to dive into the details, but all things considered, should Mavs fans be concerned or not?
I think to an extent. I think healthy concern, I would, because I think Sean Sweeney made that big of an impact. But it's hard to say until we know who they replace him with as well, because they still could go and get a veteran assistant, and then that would kind of change my opinion on that. But I think they could definitely use a continuity. I think maybe even considering someone like Jared Dudley to get that promotion and take on more responsibility to basically maintain a little bit of what they've established would be smart after losing quite a bit of assistant coaches. So that's something that I feel like would be a good idea.
Do we know why they're? Because look, here's the thing: you don't have to. I mean, you've been out of the playoffs for 2 months now, so it's not like I mean, maybe you're negotiating against yourself. Like, do we think now that the season's finally over? And now, because, let's call it what it is. There's still teams that are looking for head coaches, right? So is there still this kind of uncertainty across the league as far as, guys still moving around that, we'll get some more certainty here in the next couple of weeks?
I think there will be more certainty over the next couple of weeks, but I've learned, not to be funny, but I've learned over the last year that there's a lot of things that like the NBA does, and then there's also things the Dallas Mavericks do for administrative things.
Well,
so